Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be discussing 8 useful tips that will help you succeed, either for your first studio gig or your studio gigs to come or professional gigs. You can apply these 8 useful tips pretty much in the entire aspect of the industry. So please stay tuned to hear the 8 tips I have to share with you. Tip number 1 is always know the gig. Always know what you're getting into. Know what kind of gig this is. Try to gather as much information so it'll put you ahead, so you familiarize yourself with the gig. You understand the terms, the type of music, or if it's a video, many different things. You want to understand what you're getting yourself into so you don't walk into a situation empty-handed. Tip number 2 is being prepared for the gig. So that means that pretty much no matter what happens, even with your equipment, logistically, some last minute change, you're ready to go. You are a key turn solution to the problem. That is a big asset that I have to say, if you can pull that off, you will be very successful. And that brings us to tip number 3, which is packing your gear in hardware bags, or packing your gear, getting it ready for the gig. Also doing it right so the gear doesn't get damaged. But in ordering for me to continue about that, we need to jump to the starting point.
Number 3, packing bags and doing it right, because you want to make sure your hardware is packed correctly and not like crap. But look at these sexy bags. Now you can put your gear in some sexy, cheap bags. I mean, they're not that cheap, but they're not a fortune, and you can protect your gear. Isn't that just sexy?
Well, when it comes to packing your gear and you're limited on money, don't have a lot of money to spend, but you want to protect your drums and your hardware from getting banged up in the transportation process to whatever gig you have, whether it's a studio gig or a live gig, and you want some protection, I definitely recommend these Roadrunner bags. They're great, and you can buy them in a 5-piece set, and it's less than $200. And at least you've got decent, thick, quality bags, wrapped in like nylon to protect the your drums so they don't get banged up. Now, if you're going out of town, or you're going to check into a plane or anything like that, or you're going on a long tour, I would then suggest hard shell cases such as SKB. They make great hard shell cases. Another thing I also wanted to recommend is this Roadrunner drum rug. These are great, fast drum rugs to lay out. They even have like this wood block at the end of it, so it stops the kick drum from moving forward, which is a nice feature. I don't use this as my main drum rug, but like I said, it's a great backup drum rug. So if you don't have anything and you show up to a whichever gig, your studio gig or even a live gig, you have a drum rug, you have something to put your drums over. So I highly recommend the Roadrunner drum rug and the shell bag kit. I also recommend purchasing the Roadrunner hardware bag. It's great. It's got wheels. You will have to buy it separately, but I strongly recommend that as well, because it protects your cymbal stands and all your hardware, and it's got plenty of bags to put all your needs in. I'm also going to show you how to properly pack a hi-hat stand. A lot of non-drummers that try to come and help you on the stage, or just stagehands or other people, they often look at this and they don't really know, or beginners, they often don't really know how to properly put this away without damaging this rod. Because this rod is very important, and you want to protect that. So there's 2 options. You can take this tube out and then undo the rod This is a common method I practice. Both of these methods are methods I use, and they're great methods to protect your equipment. So you take this rod and you put it right in here, then you take the clutch and you tighten it. Now what's great is now this rod is protected by this tube, and so the likelihood of this being bent is very small. Another tip, the only downside to this tip is that you will need to do something with your hi-hat felt, and you will need to do something with your clutch. You will need to put it somewhere in your hardware bag or somewhere to make sure you don't lose this. But this is a great alternative. Another thing you can do is you can take this tube out. You put the top rod facing the bottom. You take your tube, you fit it in, and you tighten it. This is another solution to protecting that rod. That's very important. And then you simply come here, take this out, unhinge the leg. You have a collapsed hi-hat stand ready to be stored. Now I'm going to show you how to collapse your boom arm cymbal stand. Now, this is an older boom arm cymbal stand. It's not really a modern one anymore, because a lot of the modern boom arm cymbal stands, which I will show you one after this, the arm collapses into the stand. These are older ones. This is a 10-year-old stand. I've had this for possibly even more than 10 years. And it's lasted me ever since then. But the way I collapse this, I always make sure this is as far down as I can. I collapse all the different tiers, because this is a 3-tier. And then come to my feet, and I move my feet up. That's why it's nice and compact, so when I put it in my bag, it's not, obviously it'll fit. Another thing you want to do when you're placing these stands in your bag, you want to alternate. So you want to put one horizontally like this, one horizontally like that. That way you can fit more. This is a DW9000 cymbal stand. This is pretty much a modern snare stand This is the DW9000 boom arm cymbal stand. This is a modern boom arm cymbal stand because you can collapse it into itself, right? And a lot of modern new hardware, especially with a boom arm cymbal stand, is designed to collapse in itself. So when you think, how am I gonna put this back? Well, you just simply collapse it into itself when you deal with cymbal stands like this. What I'm showing is applicable for a new drummer who kind of doesn't really know how to put these stuff away properly without damaging it. Or maybe a stagehand. You find that a lot, like when stagehands come up to you and ask you, how do you want me to put this away? Well, hopefully that can kind of help a little bit. And it also can just show you the difference between the older ones and the newer ones. So kind of wanted to show you that. And then you just collapse it in here, and then you pull the feet together. Everything is condensed down, and you can fit this in your hardware bag. Another tip I wanted to show you about packing hardware gear is when you're dealing with a kick pedal, I recommend always loosening the beater and dropping it into its slot, so that way you don't have your beater locked in and then something falls on this during the travel process and it puts a bunch of pressure on the springs. This could damage the springs, and you don't want that, especially before your gig. So another way, you could just take it out and put it in your hardware bag. In reference to the Roadrunner hardware bag, This is the hardware bag by Roadrunner. It's really neat. I definitely enjoy it. It's really useful. It's got plenty of space and plenty of pockets, so you can put additional hardware or extra backup equipment, which is always nice. And the other really nice thing about it is it has wheels. So you don't actually need to just lift this thing. You know, you can wheel it and move it around efficiently. This is the Roadrunner Cymbal Vault. I highly recommend this to protect your cymbals. Relatively inexpensive, and I can fit about 5 to 6 full-size cymbals in here. I've even crammed more, and it's got plenty of pockets. So again, backup hardware, any moon gels, tension rods, all that stuff. You've got places to put it, and it's very nice and resourceful. And the cool thing about it, you can wear it like a backpack. Another suggestion on material to pack for your gig is extra assorted items, such as extra moon gels, some kind of razor tool. I prefer this just in case I have to cut something open, like a new product or something that I have and I need to open it, or some string got caught somewhere and you need to cut it. It's just a nice tool to have. Also, of course, drum keys. It's never a bad idea to bring more than one, just in case. When you get nervous, you misplace things. It's good to have another one, or just another one to speed things up. I bring plenty of these felts, cymbal felts, because as you're traveling, they wear out, and as you use them, they wear out, and you always want to have an extra one. Another thing I carry is extra felts. Sometimes when you're traveling, you don't really have much time to look at them and pay attention to them, and you get to a gig and some of them are really worn out from the use. Well, you always want to carry spares. Another thing, I always bring an extra beater. It doesn't, it's whichever you prefer, but I always just bring an extra one. These are pretty nice to have just in case something happens. Maybe the pad on yours is pretty worn out and you need a different sound. It's always good to have an extra one of these. Also, recommend bringing your own headphone extension cord. You never know, one at the studio might be broken, they might not have one. You might be in a really uncomfortable position and you need more length to feel more comfortable when you're playing. I recommend bringing an extra one. Other items I recommend bringing are extra drum heads. Whether it is a reso head, whether it's a batter head, whichever one. I typically like to have a reso head and a batter head for a snare drum on board, because typically on drums, heads that crack or open up, or anything serious, like serious damage, it's usually with the snare drum head. Point is, you want to have an extra snare reso head. You never know what will happen. These are things we hit with our hand, or with drumsticks, not with our hands. You can, but we hit these with our drumsticks, and the stuff happens, and you want to be prepared for a cracked head, or you want to be prepared for an overtone you can't get rid of, so you throw a moon gel on it. You want to be ready for a damaged felt, or you need more felts to tighten the cymbal down, or you want to be ready for these things, because these things will start being apparent as the time unfolds and you start setting up to your gig. There's all these things that are happening, and so you want to be ready to go, and you want to be able to problem solve without compromising so much time towards the gig. 2 items I strongly suggest bringing along with you, as well as all the other items I listed. Extra pair of drumsticks. You know, at least one extra pair. I mean, if you're going on tour, obviously you want to have an arsenal of drumsticks. You want to have plenty of them. But if you're, you know, staying local, you got, you know, a studio session here and there, always doesn't hurt to bring an extra pair of drumsticks. You know, it's a great idea. I also highly recommend getting the SE215 Micro Drive in-ears. This is a great product by Shure, and I highly recommend these for studio gigs or even live performances. It really allows that metronome to stick out of the mix or the tracks to stick out, and you really isolate it in your ear so you can really concentrate and give a really well done professional performance. And I've got to say, you know, they work wonderful. I highly recommend it, and it's $100. So you're not spending too much money, and you're getting great quality in-ear and noise cancellation and isolation. I highly recommend it. Another thing I strongly suggest for first-time studio musicians or current studio musicians, and current studio musicians probably already know this, and they know this already, I hope so. Always have a metronome with you. You always want to have that count and be precise and be able to warm up before you perform. That will improve your accuracy in your hits, your timing, even the sound. It will sound so much better, you know, you being on beat. And can't stress that enough, you know. If you're getting into the studio side of things, that's, you know, you're more than likely going to be playing to a metronome, you know, for these professional gigs. That is definitely a standard, especially if you're doing video. You know, you need to make sure everything lines up and it's on that count and you're not, you know, getting off. You know, it makes it harder for everybody if your playing is sloppy and it's not to a metronome. Now, further on the subject of the metronome I use, and I strongly recommend this, it is a Soundbrenner Core. Now, this was a product that was innovated about 2 years ago, and I was one of the first people to actually buy this smartwatch, and it's a great smartwatch. It has a built-in vibration metronome. Comes with a bag that's got a strap, so you can literally strap this thing to your chest. You can strap it to your leg, your arm, and it vibrates to the pulse of whatever you set your metronome to. And the other great thing is it has Bluetooth compatibility, so you can sync it to your phone with the app. You can also receive your text messages and all the normal functions of a smartwatch. The other great feature of this is you can actually tune the instrument. You can tune a guitar with this. It's got a magnetic adapter that will attach to a guitar, and you can tune your guitar. It also has a decibel meter on it, so if you're ever walking into a loud session, or if you're walking into a live show, or you're walking into, you know, a live gig and it's really loud and you want to make sure you're not that loud, you can pull this out and read how much dB, how loud these guys are. You know, and you can even use that to check yourself while you're practicing or playing. Like, man, I'm playing too loud. You know, I need to dial it back. You know, and so these are great tools to have. I mean, of course, you don't need the Soundbrenner Core. You know, you could use other metronomes, but I have to say this metronome is probably one of the best investments I have made towards curricular or learning drums or practicing drums. I highly recommend this product. Alright everyone, I've got my car all packed up and ready to go for the gig. As you can see, I've got my cymbal bag, my Roadrunner cymbal bag, and all my bags are Roadrunner. So I've got my hardware packed up, and I usually put my hardware and my cymbals in the trunk along with my throne seat, and I always carry an extra drum rug. Just so you guys, you know, the Roadrunner drum rug, I always keep an extra one because you never know. And then if we come to the side of the vehicle, you can see the rest of my drums I have packed in here. I've got my kick drum, my rack tom, and then I've also got my floor tom. And then I have my snare drum and my DW9000 pedal. So yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you a general idea, especially if your gig is, you know, in town and you just want to get your car packed up efficiently and not damage any gear. You know, I see tons of people when they bring their equipment, their drums, they don't pack them in cases or any bags of any sort, and well, that ends up damaging and can damage your gear. So hope this helps. All right, everyone, we've arrived at the gig. It is a late gig, but you know, no worries. As you can see behind me, I have everything packed up, ready to go. I even have some more gear in the trunk. And so yeah, we're actually a little early and we're just here waiting. So another thing I wanted to add, when you're going to a gig and you really want to make a good impression, this is like a first professional gig or a first studio gig, a practice that I like to get into is I like to arrive 35 to 45 minutes early to the gig, and that's just me. It helps me with stress, arriving on time. It helps me beat traffic. It also allows me to, you know, possibly I go through my gear also and double check and make sure I have everything. So if I do have some time to solve a problem right now, now's the time to do it. Another thing I like to do is I also like to call who's ever in charge of the recording session on the phone and just be like, hey, I'm here. You know, whenever you're ready for me, let me know, and I will load in either on a loading dock or wherever you need me to load in. We are here at the gig. This is Shock City Studios. It's a very well-known studio in St. Louis, Missouri. I highly recommend it for your recording needs as far as podcasts and even music. Look at this beautiful room. I am so excited to work in here. But yeah, this is the Stew. This is where the gig's at. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this kit set up. And we finally made it to our last and final tip that I have for you, which is have fun. Make sure you have a good time. Obviously, it can be stressful, you know, this being your first studio gig, or this just could be stressful if this is just another gig for you. You just want to remind yourself you love doing this and have a great time. Cut loose. Alright everyone, well that concludes our video for today. Thank you for making it through the whole thing and watching it. I really appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to go to the description section. There will be several links. You can feel free to do all your shopping there. However, I understand, you know, everybody's going through a hard time right now. But yeah, I encourage you to check it out. And thank you so much for watching this video and tuning into my channel. I had a great time sharing these 8 successful tips with you, and hope to see you next time. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful, absolutely wonderful day.